Welcome back, y'all. The Supreme Court has handed President Trump some big wins on immigration lately, allowing him to fast-track deportations and end Biden-era protections. But we're still waiting on the court's major decision on birthright citizenship, which could come as early as tomorrow. But Fox News polling shows most voters believe children of illegal immigrants who are born in the U.S. should be citizens. Joining us now is Texas Congressman Brandon Gill, who sits on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I think, we talked about that Fox News poll. I think that the nuance to the issue are things like this birthright tourism and this idea of what we call anchor babies, like coming here illegally, breaking our laws with the intent of having a child here in order to scapegoat those laws. And I think that's a real issue. Just don't know if the president and the administration made their best argument to the Supreme Court to get this upheld.
I think that's exactly right. If you ask most Americans, do you believe that an illegal alien who traverses across South America, passes through multiple countries, shows up at our southern border, crosses over, and has a child, if that child should be an American citizen just like anybody else in our country, I think most people would say no. If you ask them, do you believe that a Chinese national who flies into the United States for the sole purpose of having a child, if that child should be an American citizen, most people would say no. And I hope that the Supreme Court recognizes that. You know, for most of American history, we've always recognized that there are certain people who don't fall under that category of citizens. For instance, the children of an invading army, the children of a Native American tribe that maintains tribal relationships. The children of diplomats, for instance, have not been considered American citizens or have not been given American citizenship simply because they're born here. And I think that the same logic applies to the children of illegal aliens who never should have been in our country to begin with.
Congressman Kevin Corke here. I'm glad you mentioned what has been happening for quite some time with Chinese nationals. I don't think a lot of Americans are quite as aware as they should be that this is something that has been happening. It's pernicious. We're talking about thousands who keep coming, and they can literally change the politics of this very nation if this is not addressed. But I am curious what happens from your perspective for those who have come here, again, before they have visited this, and they've come here, they've been here illegally, they've had a child or children. What happens to them?
Well, I think that we certainly all recognize that birth tourism is a problem, as you just mentioned. I mean, the idea that children from our number one geopolitical adversary, or citizens of our number one geopolitical adversary, should come into the United States for the purpose of having babies who can then later on vote in American elections, and we know this is happening at a scale that is hard to fathom, thousands upon thousands upon thousands every single year. That's a real problem, and that's something that fundamentally undermines the meaning of American citizenship and fundamentally tears apart our social fabric and needs to be addressed. I think that, you know, whenever you look at illegal aliens, you have a similar issue. So this is something that we're looking at, and that we're, you know, I hope that the Supreme Court recognizes these very real problems and recognizes that the Constitution is not a suicide pact for the American people, but something that should be followed in order to uphold and sustain law and order in the United States.
Certainly. Congressman Gill, I want to ask you about the Texas Democrat Convention, where they rallied behind Senate candidate, our friend James Tallarico, and appear to be embracing the party's extremism. Take a look.
We believe in solidarity. The oligarchs and all of their money will never defeat it.
These billionaires and their puppets have the wrong state of mind.
Next time they say that James is trans, we're all trans. When they say James is a gay tofu-eating vegan, we're all gay tofu-eating vegans. When they say James is going to hell, we're all going to hell.
Congressman, that was weird. I don't know if anybody has called James Tallarico trans, so it's weird that they even put that out there. It's just so bizarre to me. I mean, as a Texan, what do you make of that, and do you think that's going to sway any opinions?
Well, you know, your campaign pitch being based on all Democrats, this is in their own words, by the way, all Democrats are transgender, tofu-eating vegans who are bound for hell is one heck of a bold strategy, especially in Texas, of all places, whenever... I think Texans are looking for some common sense, some decency, somebody who's going to represent, I think, conservative values, not go to Washington and focus on a non-binary God, on there being 6 sexes, whatever those 6 are, and focusing on our apparent need, according to James Tallarico, to have a welcome mat on our southern border. But it shows you how just wildly out of touch the Democrat Party is to be running not only a candidate who's crazy like Tallarico, but embracing this messaging across the board is genuinely insane.
Congressman Gill, let's switch gears. We'll talk a place that's really in touch with normal people, which is the Great American State Fair. And in particular, we got to see the Texas booth. It includes a replica space capsule and the Alamo. Here's my question. You're raising young kids in America. In addition to just living in the great state of Texas, what are your strategies for communicating to them what is important about this country as they grow up?
Well, I think we communicate that to them every day, and making sure that they realize that they do live in the greatest country on the face of the earth, the greatest civilization that has ever been created. And that's something that Danielle, my wife, and I try to be very clear with our kids about. Now, they're really young, 3 years old and 1 year old, but I think that that's something that they're going to see as they grow up. And also recognize that, you know, we have an incredible culture in the United States. We live with so many freedoms, so much dignity in this country, and that's something that we ought to love, be patriotic about, and we should seek to preserve or conserve as conservatives. And I think that's what this Great American State Fair is all about. It's all about loving this incredible country that we're so blessed to be in.
Congressman Brandon Gill, I couldn't agree more. I had a conversation earlier today about amputees and war abroad, and it's like, listen, there isn't a greater country in the world to have something like that happen to you. I mean, just that alone is kind of like that little caveat of like, would you want to be sick anywhere but here? Would you want to be injured anywhere but here? Because the baseline is so high. Brandon Gill, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for being a proud American.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.